Today, I want to talk about a topic I've been thinking and working on for the past few months, and which I found particularly healing and transformative. And that's the topic of building a safe space for yourself. Now, I know the term safe space has become a bit politically loaded in recent years with its use on college campuses and trigger warnings and whatnot, but that's not quite what I mean with the term. Rather, by safe space, I mean a kind of mental haven or sanctuary where you can go to for feelings of peace, safety, love, and support. For me, it's become this rather remarkable tool when I'm faced with moments of stress, anxiety, or burnout to retreat from the world to this safe mental sanctuary within me. Now, the topic of safe spaces came up in a meeting I had with my therapist earlier this year, specifically when I asked him about this particular painting he had on his wall. It was this beautiful mountain landscape with a large green tree beside this calm, expansive, deep blue lake. He said the painting was a depiction of his safe space, a spot he could retreat to when he needed. When he was, feeling drained after a long day of sessions, or just when life was particularly heavy and he needed a dose of comfort. He then asked me what my safe space looked and felt like, what place I could go to in my mind that would offer peace, calm, and support. And I thought about it for a few minutes, and like most kids of the 90s and thousands, I decided my safe space ultimately looked a lot like Hogwarts. Now, in the weeks and months since, I've been researching and diving into cultivating my own safe space, and I think I've gathered some insights and thoughts worth sharing. Insights from psychology, spiritual wisdom, as well as my own experiences that might be helpful for those interested in building their own internal retreat. First, why is this worth your time? Why is it worth building and cultivating your connection to a mental safe space? Well, here are what some psychologists and experts say. Dr. Rick Hanson, a psychologist and author of Hardwiring Happiness, explains that our brains are naturally wired to focus on threats, a survival mechanism we've inherited from ancestors who, for millennia, were forced to stave off threats from predators, plagues, and famine. Rick also is a co-host of the podcast Being Well, which I highly recommend. But rather than remain in that mostly anachronistic state of hypervigilance, we can actively retrain our minds to habitually lean more towards positive feelings. We have the ability to cultivate positive experiences, embedding them deeply into our neural pathways. And you do this by visualizing a safe space. You're then essentially rewiring your brain to prioritize feelings of security and connection over fear and stress. Tara Brach, another psychologist, spiritual teacher, and podcast host whom I deeply admire, also speaks about the importance of creating an inner refuge. She says, it allows us to respond to the world. It allows us, rather than react, to respond with our deepest intelligence and heart. In her book, Radical Acceptance, Tara also offers this rather profound metaphor that illustrates the power of having an inner refuge. She says, in bullfighting, there is an interesting parallel to this pause as a place of refuge and renewal. It is believed that in the midst of a fight, a bull can find his own particular area of safety in the arena. There, he can reclaim his strength and power. This place and inner state are called his carencia. As long as the bull remains enraged and reactive, the matador is in charge. Yet when he finds his carencia, he gathers his strength and loses his fear. From the matador's perspective, at this point the bull is truly dangerous, for he is tapped into his power. Building a safe space has a basis in both psychology and spiritual practice, and that's inspired and motivated me to build my connection to my safe space more and more these past weeks and months. For me, Hogwarts has always been that inner sanctuary. It's not just the childhood nostalgia of the books I read and the movies I watched growing up, nor is it simply the scenic beauty of the place, with the mountains in the background, the vast, expansive lake, the mystical, rich forest. But rather, Hogwarts also represents some of the most foundational experiences and truths I hope to embody. A feeling of expansiveness, growth, and adventure with the surrounding mountains and great stretching lake. The richness and power of friendship and love. A belief in some magical goodness woven into the foundation of life. And the belief that everything will work out all right in the end. Now, you don't have to choose Hogwarts, of course. Your safe space can be anything. A real place you visited, an imaginary landscape, or even a blend of both. Here's some thoughts on creating your own safe space. 1. Find a place that resonates with you. Think of a location that feels comforting or joyful. It could be a childhood memory, a serene vacation spot, or an enchanted forest. It doesn't even have to be real. What matters is how it makes you feel. 2. Engage your senses. Close your eyes and imagine what it looks like, sounds like, smells like, and even what textures you might feel. The more vivid, the better. For example, when I picture Hogwarts, I hear the crackling of the warm fire, the laughter of friends in the great hall, and the distant hoot of an owl, and the sound of the forest trees swaying in the soft wind. In those moments, my heart slows down, my breathing eases, and I reconnect with the parts of me that feel most at home. 3. Bring in symbols of love and safety. Try adding elements that represent care and connection. Maybe it's the presence of a loved one, a pet, or even a spiritual guide. For me, I think of all my family and even ancestors being there. I think of the love and support they had for me at their core. Even if I haven't connected with them in some time, and even if it's not their physical selves being there, I imagine the energy of their goodness and love that they have at their truest, deepest self. I see the way they look at me from that place of love, and I sense an ocean of compassion and support for me. 4. Anchor it with rituals. Psychologist Dr. Laurie Santos, a psychology professor at Yale University and particularly well known for her course on happiness, emphasizes the power rituals can have for us. Try entering your safe space as part of a regular practice, like meditating or journaling or going for a walk. Try finding some music to listen to on your commutes that helps you connect with that place. Building a habit and rhythm of accessing your safe space makes it all the easier and begins weaving those positive feelings and aspects more into your day-to-day life. Once you've built your safe space, it can be a resource for you to turn to anytime. Whether you're facing a tough conversation or battling self-doubt or just need a break from the chaos of the world, your sanctuary is always there. And here's the magical part. The more you visit your safe space, the easier you'll be able to access it, and the more its peace and love seep into your daily life. You might find yourself carrying that sense of calm even when you're not actively visualizing it. In wrapping up, I thought it'd be worth sharing a thought from the Dalai Lama on this. He said, "We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves." Creating a safe space within yourself is a step toward that inner peace. It's a practice that reminds you, no matter what's happening around you, there's a place inside you that is always steady, loving, and whole. So, what will your safe space be? Feel free to shoot me an email or drop a comment below. And if it happens to be Hogwarts, maybe I'll see you there by the common room fireplace. Take care, and I'll see you next time.